everybody, Lord Maim here with part 22 of the Mass Effect 3 Insanity walkthrough, Priority Thessia. It's a fairly combat-heavy mission, so hopefully you've gotten all your weapons and armor equipped for this one. Right out of the gate, you'll drop down into a mounted turret section. Just proceed down to the Asari that are in this little camp at the bottom to trigger the cinematic. Little Linda Blair moment there with the animation. That's kind of funny. Hop up to the right onto the mounted gun and you'll be able to attack the enemies. Again, with brutes, the best way to attack them is to try to avoid shooting them in their obvious armor plating. Best pace, usually to attack them without having to wear them down, is to focus on their heads or on their spines. You see there's an exposed section between their claw-like ridges along their spine. Directing fire along that area is usually more than enough to bring them down in short order. I didn't really have too much trouble with this one protecting the barrier of the Asari biotic. As long as you keep focusing on the brutes instead of the husks and bringing them down early, you shouldn't have any issues. Once all the enemies have been killed, the cinematic will be triggered automatically. And after a conversation with the Asari commandos, you'll then proceed with the remainder of the mission. Right away after moving past the cinematic, there'll be a short encounter with 2 cannibals and 2 marauders. With the short chest-high walls that line both sides of the area, more than enough cover for you to hang back and pick these guys off with your sniper rifle. You'll also notice that cannibals, towards the end of the game, pretty much from this point on, you'll see that they'll start the areas with some additional armor plating, like they would do normally if they had been allowed to eat from a corpse. So be aware if you're hearing the cannibals plink, plink as their armor comes flying off, you might have to readjust your aim and maybe aim for an area where they haven't got any armor plating. So if you hear that plinking sound, or if they look kind of weird, try and aim around the armor. That'll save you from having to wear them down. By the way, shooting at that harvester won't do you any good, so don't bother. Down this lower area, there's another 2 cannibals and 2 marauders. This is the start of a rather large sequence of enemies, so mind your ammo. Supplement your gunfire with biotic abilities or tech abilities to save yourself as much ammo as possible. You can see there the cannibals start with that additional armor I was talking about. The first time you see it, you might not notice it if you're looking through your sniper rifle, like what it is that's different, but visually you can tell that there's something different about them. You'll see that the next encounter starts almost the second you hit the bottom of that staircase. It's just a group of cannibals, so you can hang back and snipe them. As before, if you can snipe them out in the open so that the corpse of the first cannibal lures the other ones out, you might have a better time of it. Otherwise, just make sure not to get flanked as they'll move around the outside of this fountain. And there are a couple of good areas for them to hide in, making it a little bit more challenging to hit them. But luckily with Liara back in the party, you can easily use Singularity to pop them up. Even if the cannibals have that additional armor, sort of the carapace that they wear, it doesn't actually translate into the armor protection ability in their life bar at the top of the screen. So you can still use Singularity or any other biotic that would require the target to be not armored without having to worry about it. It's just an additional layer of protection for them. It's kind of strange that it works that way, but hey, I'll take it. It's easy to see the line of demarcation between each wave because the fireballs that crash to the ground are what deliver the Reapers to this area. So every time you see or hear that, be aware that new enemies are in the area. Keep track of where they are in relation to you. That's why it's always worthwhile to hang back and just pick them up as they come to you. Also, you'll notice that it's wise to make sure that all the enemies are eliminated before advancing. A lot of the times waves are being triggered by your position rather than a fixed time. So it's not as though the second wave will be triggered once you've killed the first wave. If you keep advancing, you'll just add more and more enemies to the area, making it harder for you to get by without, well, being brutally murdered. So if you find yourself having trouble, keep an eye on where you are and try hanging back and waiting till you're sure that the area is clear before advancing. Oftentimes that makes things a lot easier for you. Once again, learn from my mistake. Anytime you're entering a new level, make sure that you set your ammo powers on both weapons if you have them. I've essentially gone through the first half of this mission already with no ammo powers on. Essentially wasting a lot more ammo than I needed to. Try to take care of the Marauders as quickly as possible, since the Banshees are just colossal pains in the ass. With their zipping around, it's easy to get caught between them and the Banshee. So kill the Marauders first, if at all possible. But never lose track of where that Banshee is. It's essentially a one-hit kill if they get anywhere near you and are able to grapple you. Incidentally, Garrus' overload ability is not bad against barriers either. Doesn't come up very often, but it's worthwhile. By the way, I hope you like Banshees, because you're going to be seeing a lot of them over the rest of the game. Hopefully you can also shoot better than I can. Okay, before you move on to the next area, of course, go through the normal motions of sweeping through the areas looking for ammunition. Make sure you're full up before continuing. Luckily in this next section it's a little bit of a break for you. There aren't many enemies in this encounter, and they're all essentially busy chewing on dead corpses, as opposed to those live corpses. They're not as tasty. Fire up your sniper rifle and pick off the 3 cannibals that are in the courtyard below. If you can tear your eyes off the Reaper, that is, because it is pretty awesome. But the sooner you pick those guys off, the better, before they get armored up. And of course you can always use Singularity if that makes things easier for you. But just make sure you hit all 3 before you go. So again, sweep through the area, make sure you're topped up on ammunition, because at the end of this area is a rather substantial firefight. Before you go up the ramp to where the Asari snipers are, you're going to want to be at full.
How long can you hold out? Nothing here, as long as it takes.
Just make sure that you hit the first thing of all is the barrier engine on the far wall, because it essentially will add barriers to everything that streams through that hole in the wall. Just their pathing takes it right by it almost every time, so it's going to want to be your first target. Luckily, because there are multiple snipers on this balcony here, you're not going to take a substantial amount of return fire. You can pretty much take your shots as they come. More and more enemies will spawn as you kill them, both through the wall and dropping via the fireballs. So if you're fast enough, you can actually stay ahead of the spawns. Just don't forget to use your squad's abilities as well, assuming Garrus's overload would ever recharge.
You hit one.
There is a ramp to the left that actually leads up to your area, but I've never been in a situation where enemies have actually made it to you, so you're usually fine as long as you stay up on this platform. You might find some enemies sort of milling about at the bottom of the ladder, but usually that just makes it easier for you to kill them. Now, again, coming up are some extended firefights. Take a thorough sweep of this area to get ammunition before continuing.
This nightmare never ends.
The hell it won't. We get to this artifact and we can
so damn long in coming.
After the cinematic, you'll go straight into another encounter.
Shepard, I've got your back. Let's get you into that temple.
Once again with everyone's favorite banshees. This is kind of a rough one because the banshees will charge at you. Meanwhile, the marauders will usually hang back. Oftentimes, you might find yourself in a position where you're literally stuck between a rock and a hard place. Key to making your life simpler, though, is to whack this barrier engine first. While the banshee is making mincemeat out of your squad, you can usually take that opportunity to rush up, kill the barrier engine, maybe kill one or two of the marauders, then concentrate on the banshee. If that works out for you, then great. Otherwise, you may have to scramble, sort of retreating along this set of terraces as you go. But you still have the Asari commando there to cover you. I've not seen her inflict a significant amount of damage, but sometimes she can distract the Reapers from just focusing on you. God, I hate these things. Honestly, every time I see banshees, I keep thinking that these things were supposed to be in Dragon Age and they just picked the wrong game. Once the banshee's dead, you're going to have a Ravager spawn directly above you on this collapsed ramp. It's not a huge deal, but just be careful not to leave your back open to it if you've taken a shellacking from the banshee.
Next time we go to war, maybe the Alliance can spring for air
Luckily, you do have a little bit of air support as a result of the previous cinematic. Hopefully you've requested that extra air support. It does come in handy in this next section, not only in this first portion of the encounter where there are husks, but also further on where there are some additional troops. There'll be some marauders and some harvesters as well as a couple of ravagers. Never hurts to have extra gunfire on the field.
right away.
At this point, with Liara in your party, 8 husks is not a huge thing to worry about, but again, you can get overrun fairly easily. There's a large number of them, and they do move quickly, so worst case scenario, if you find yourself surrounded, don't be afraid to retreat and regroup. Once again, shooting at the harvesters in the air, not much good. Once you've taken care of the husks, make sure you're filled up on ammo again, because there are another sizable encounter. There's a barrier engine right at the back of the area where the 2 harvesters are. Your first attack should be to kill that thing immediately. Ravagers, Marauders, and Harvesters with barrier in addition to its other defenses, that's just not a fun thing. Again, even though the Ravagers have armor, if you manage to drop a Singularity directly on them, that will instantly destroy any of the Swarmers that happen to pop out of its fleshy sacks. Again, not a major threat on their own, but coupled with everything else, they can be quite dangerous. If you find that the Marauders aren't advancing on your position, you can feel free to work across the area sort of right to left with the standard cheat the corner system, but just be aware that the Marauders are still there and that they don't get the jump on you from behind, forcing you to sort of manage between the Harvester and the Marauder. Start putting out a roach motel for those things.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Once the last marauder is dead, you can search through the area for ammunition. It's not as big a concern because there is a cache right at the start of this next area, but you may need that later on when you fight Kai Lang, so just be better off to have your ammo filled up. Once you're in the temple, go to the back of the temple and hit the point of interest beneath the statue, which will trigger a
A few
cinematic.
records I can access talk about tapping into Prothean data streams, reconstructing matrices.
Through the cinematic,
none
you'll
of which I
be
see here.
made aware of several of the Prothean artifacts in the area. Oh, sorry, did I say Prothean? I meant Asari. Asari artifacts in the area that will glow. Once you activate them, it will cause the statue to fragment and then eventually fall apart, revealing the Prothean beacon that lay hidden beneath it.
That did it.
Then move back to the base of the statue and hit the button to access the beacon. This will trigger a cinematic where you talk to a Prothean VI, and of course, in steps Kai Lang to deprive you of it.
You killed the scientists.
After talking to
What do you
Kai
want?
Lang, or more appropriately,
Your
talking to
attention.
the elusive man,
Someone would like to talk with
you'll
you.
have a boss battle with Kai Lang and get a chance to get
Right.
revenge.
The commander has
Well,
something I need.
sort of.
Please relieve him of it. And then bring me the data.
Understood.
This boss battle seems a lot harder than it actually is. The key is that you don't actually have to kill Kai Lang, just deprive him of his shields. So spread your squad out to draw Kai Lang away from you, and focus on depriving his shields, or depleting his shields. Because you're working on your shields, fire up your disruptor ammo, use overload abilities. The important thing is to not let Kai Lang get too close to you. Oftentimes he'll go after the members of your squad, that's fine. Use them as decoys. If they happen to die, usually you can run right up to them and revive them without using a metagel, but worst case scenario, a few metagels won't go amiss at this point. Once Kai Lang's shields have been reduced by roughly about half, he'll pull back and stay in cover while his shields regenerate, using gunfire from a gunship as cover. The place you want to be is behind these set of pillars along the sides of the area, where you can continue to attack Kai Lang while he's regenerating, preventing his shields from coming back online. If you find that Kai Lang is getting too close to you, just roll out or roll back, move around the outside of the area, and try to get away from him before attacking again. Also be aware of that energy waves that he throws out. It's actually quite wide and difficult to avoid. If you manage to roll out at exactly the right moment, you can dodge it, but if not, and likely if not, it's quite damaging. So be aware of that ability he has, stay back, keep on the move. And again, focus on depleting his shields. Once he's hit about 3/4 of his shields lost, he'll again pull back and hide under the gunship. This is your cue that you really have to pour on the steam.
The gunship's taking up position.
Hit him with everything you've got. With your sniper rifle, if you have it, will make things easier. More damage, more accuracy. Particularly if you can manage to hit him in the head. It's not a hugely difficult task while he's standing still, but while he's charging at you, much less easy. So you see there that even though he was getting the accelerated regeneration, because I continuously attacked him during that process, he's still below half. And that's really the key, is to never let up on him for a minute. If he gets too close, once again, just run out, avoid him. Use your squad as bait and line up sniper rifle fire. You see, the sniper rifle does an extreme amount of damage to him compared to a normal weapon, so very worthwhile. Once his shield's been depleted, he'll pull back and trigger the cinematic that ends the level. So it's actually quite a bit easier than you might think, looking at how long his life bar actually is. But that'll be the end of part 22 of the Mass Effect 3 Insanity walkthrough, Priority of Thessia. Join us next time for part 23, N7 Communications Hub. Till then, I'm Lord Maim. Thanks for watching.